YouTube, what the crap's going on? Heir of Carthage here, back in Total War Rome 2, and Blade Master has given me a battle to show you, and I have others that I'm going to show over the next few days too. Wanted to catch up on some of the battles that people had been emailing me. I get too many for me to be able to show them all, but I'm going to try and show some so that I can, like I said, try and keep up there. This has been a very busy week for me, and I have had very little time to play online. I've gotten, maybe a couple of battles in here and there, but not a whole lot. Next week, I'm going to be out of town. This weekend, I'm out of town because it's the Easter holiday, and we're going to see some family and stuff. So, yeah, it's just busy for me right now, and haven't had as much time to live stream. I was hoping to live stream this week, but my work schedule got too crazy, so I apologize that I didn't get to any. I was wanting to do some during the week. And I'm not going to get to do one this weekend because, as I said, I'll be out of town with family. So the next live stream I'll do won't be this Saturday, but the following Saturday. Let me look at the date so I can tell you what that date is. That would be the following Saturday, the 2nd of April. So the 2nd of April is when I'll do the next live stream. Why don't you all tell me what you're wanting to see in the next live stream, and I'll see what I can do. I mean, I can do a couple of them as long as they're both within reason. So, like I could do a campaign, and then I could live stream something else. You tell me. I do have videos scheduled to release every day while I'm gone, though, so don't worry about me being gone. You'll still get content. That's why I wasn't able to live stream, is because I was busy making content for when I was going to be gone, because I figured it was more important for you to have a video rather than to have no video. Let's take a look at the armies now that I've given you the brief update. We've got Blade Master as Egypt, or the Ptolemies here, so he's got 4 units of these Ptolemaic cavalry, or Egyptian cavalry, whatever he calls them. He's got a couple of units of these Cushite shield women. They have cavalry counter tactics, and then 2 units of Galatian swords. He's got several units of Nubian bows, and then I believe he's got some Rhodian slingers. There's a standard, looks like 2 standard archers, Nubian bow. I thought I saw a Rhodian slinger somewhere. Perhaps I am wrong. Very well could be. Yeah, no, they're right here. I thought these guys were Greek archers because they just kind of look like them. Those are Rhodian slingers because they have the shield. Yep. And then his pike line is 4 thorax pikes, but then he's also got 1 Hellenic Royal Guard pikeman. So you don't see this very often. Those pikes are generally not used in the base version of the game, but in the Blade Balance mod, occasionally you will see the elite pikes brought to the battlefield. They're harder to kill, and they get more kills typically. So there's 4 Thracian cavalry for the Odrysian player, because this is Egypt versus Thrace, essentially. And let's take a look at the Thracian army from above. It'll be a little easier for me. There are 3 Thracian royal cavalry on the field, 1 on each flank, and then the general in the center. There, I believe, are 5 units of, or no, it was 6 units of just spears. These are cheap spearmen, obviously being used as a meat shield because there's a Thracian rush army on the field. There are 2 Thracian nobles, and I believe 4 Thracian warriors. Scratch that, make it 5 Thracian warriors, because there's 1 more here in the center. So yeah, that's the Thracian army. The Thracian royal cavalry, obviously able to pack quite the punch, and Thracian cavalry also packs a pretty good wallop in melee against other light cavalry. Now against spear-armed cavalry, they'll struggle a little, but you can see that the Thracian cavalry here being just thrown straight in, trying to get to the camel archers. Blade Master had 2 of those, 1 on each flank. So the camel archers will lose in melee pretty decisively to the Thracian cavalry, just due to the attack on the Thracian cav, but Blade Master is going to reinforce those units, and now the Thracian player just goes in for like an all-out rush here, and Blade Master's camels got torn apart by these Thracian royal cavalry and Thracian nobles. On the charge, the Thracian nobles killed about half of the camel unit, while Blade Master is just going to hold on the other flank and in the center. But the Thracians very quickly start to wrap up a flank, and this is a pretty smart strategy for Thracians, especially when they're in the rush army. They've got to overwhelm and destroy one of the flanks, and with their giant Romphia, they're going to be pretty good against cavalry and infantry. They have a 15 bonus versus large, and so you can see here that the Thracians are going to be very, very effective on this flank. Galatian swordsmen will try and help fend this off, but the swordsmen will get destroyed in battle by the Thracian noble, or royal, yeah, Thracian nobles, I believe is what they're called. I want to say Thracian oath swords sometimes, but that's Attila. So yeah, these guys get absolutely wrecked, and Blade Master's right flank completely collapses, and right now it's all he can do to keep his skirmishers safe from the Thracian cavalry. And in fact, his camel archers are dying to the Thracian cavalry as we speak. He's got one more unit of Egyptian cavalry there, one more here, but the two that he had on this flank are completely destroyed. The Thracian Royal Cavalry in concert with the spears and the Romphia-based units absolutely destroyed the Egyptian cavalry over here. We're going to watch this Galatian swordsman get hacked there by the Romphia-wielding Thracian noble. Yeah, these guys are just going to brutalize the swordsman. No contest there, but the fight's not over. So Blademaster got hit fast, and his troops took a pretty savage beating on his right flank. But this fight's going to go into later game. The Thracian does not have any skirmishers, and I want to say that Thracian slingers were improved upon in the Blade Balance mod, and Blademaster I'm sure will correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say that they got like a higher block chance to try and make them more like Germanic slingers, just to give the Odrysians a little bit of a tool. So you can see pikes here being moved to protect the flanks. His Hellenic Royal Guard here still standing on this flank. So really at this point, again, it's going to go into kind of a late game skirmish. The Odrysian player has to try and move around the flanks. While they do, they're going to be under missile barrage. And the missile barrage will be pretty effective versus Odrysian units because most of them have pretty low armor and sometimes no block chance. Now the Thracian Royal Cavalry can take a couple of volleys of missiles and survive because they have shields and pretty sturdy armor on there, 90 armor. But most of their infantry will fall fairly easily to missiles, and Blademaster has a pretty substantial missile force left. There's 2 Rhodian slingers, which are very dangerous, and then a couple of Nubian bowmen boasting 175 range and pretty good damage. It's not the best damage out there, but it's good damage. One of his remaining Egyptian cavalry was a little bit overextended, and they're going to get caught out here and killed. Egyptian cavalry are good because they scare enemy horses, but a unit like Thracian Royal Cav is not going to be scared off the battlefield, that's for sure. The cavalry is kind of a staple for Egypt, though. It's really their most affordable and decent medium cavalry, so that's why you see people bring them. Not so much because of the scare effect. I mean, that's just kind of an added bonus. It makes them more useful than Egyptian cavalry were in the base game, and that's why Blademaster made that change, just to give them some unique flavor. And this Thracian Royal Cavalry is just going to plow right on ahead, trying to get to these Nubian bows. And indeed, the Nubian bows were in trouble, but Blademaster is going to go ahead and sacrifice another Egyptian cavalry here. He doesn't have many of these guys left, so this is a risky move, and he's just firing indiscriminately into this fight, trying to kill Thracian Royal Cavalry. I partly agree with that, and partly disagree with it. I don't think he has much of a choice, though, really. Here you're going to see the Thracian cavalry getting cut down by pikes. Blademaster retreated his skirmishers into the pikes so that the chasing Thracians would then get, gored on the pikes, basically, and that was definitely a smart move. Let's see if there's any action. The little action starting to go on Blademaster's left flank, while it's just kind of a cavalry skirmish over here on his right. But you can see that he has had to box up here on his flank. I'll kind of go ahead and draw that out. Yeah, so you can see he's kind of got the partial pike box going here to keep his flank safe. Now this flank is going to be attacked. Thracian Royal Cavalry are rolling in on the Kushite shield women. They get cavalry counter tactics, but they're going to be hit so hard by a very heavy cavalry that it's unlikely they'll do a lot of damage. So the Kushite shield women were unable to really do a ton of damage. It was actually the missile volley that came into the back that did something, but now the poor Kushite shield women, I say poor, they're only getting engaged by spears, so they'll do okay here, but after a pretty brutal charge by that Thracian Royal Cavalry, the Kushite shield women are going to be overmatched here. And then the Egyptian cavalry, again, chasing the Thracian Royal Cav, hoping to pin it down so that the shield women can kill it. But the shield women are otherwise tied down by other Thracian units. And here comes the Romphia-wielding units again. And these women are going to be going on a date with death, one in which they will probably not appreciate the way the outcome of the night is. And if by night I mean the day, because they're going to die right now on the battlefield. Check out these Hellenic Royal Guard pikes. They got engaged mostly frontally here. Yeah, entirely frontally. These units were trying to get around them, I think, but these Hellenic Royal Guard have very good stats, and you can see them really cutting down some of these units as they try and flee. So for a pike unit, these guys are going to get a lot of kills. They're already up to 69. Now, the Thracian player can potentially win this game if they can get Blademaster skirmishers off the field. And right now there's an opening over this direction. because these Thracian nobles are kind of pulling some of these units their direction. The Thracian noble will crush the Galatian swordsmen. There are pikes nearby to support, though, so the noble's going to have to watch out. The Thracian royal cavalry is obviously trying to get around and get to these skirmishers, but if you look, it's going to be mismicroed a little bit here. It doesn't have a charge order, but it does have like a move order, and they're trying to get around this pike unit, and they get caught on the edge of it, and they have so much armor and health that they don't just insta-die, and then the player starts to micro them out around the edge, though some of the units remain stuck, and that is the general's unit of Thracian Royal Cav. So definitely a blunder there by the Thracians. However, that Thracian Royal Cavalry has already kind of busted loose, and they're going to start plowing their way through these light Galatian swordsmen and get to the squishy, juicy center of Blade Master's pike box, semi-pike box here, and just start really trying to kill all these archers. And Blade Master's in pretty rough shape here because these people are caught, so he does have a few units that aren't caught in the blob, and he's standing back and trying to fire in. Just do anything he can to cut down this Thracian Royal Cavalry, while his infantry is kind of trying to find an opening through the pikes, and they are struggling to do so. Because in the late game, pikes become pretty dangerous if they haven't been whittled down significantly, because they can still cover large areas and help defend lots of different areas for their army. So it looks like they're going to be able to defend, but I mean, Blade Master has this problem right here. I want to just stay in zoomed up view so you all can see some awesome battle. It's just a little pike box here. You can see Blade Master trying to get his bowman free. One of the units routes actually, and it finally kind of gets away over here. But you can see the infantry is pinning the archers from the front, and the cavalry is getting them from behind. And now there's Thracian warriors in here as well. So these guys are going to really support the Thracian cavalry here in the late fight. So Blade Master's pike box has been penetrated by the Thracian forces, but you can see he's trying to collapse in here and put some pressure on these forces that have gotten through. And again, Blade Master is going to lose most of his skirmishers here. Let's just kind of watch the units trying to get onto the flanks of the Thorax pikes. Thorax pikes are going to be a pretty deadly unit. Again, they're expensive and they can be killed, but if again, what you really want from your pikes in the Blade Balance mod is to try and get them to late game. That's where they'll be the most deadly, because they're able to, create defensive positions, and usually by then the enemies may be running low on skirmishers and stuff like that. Now, if you're fighting against a pike faction in Blade Balance mod, I can't recommend enough that you do not underestimate the pikes in this mod. You need to bring skirmishers to deal with them. You need to have troops to deal with them. Javelin-wielding infantry, just peltist. Peltist are a nice way to help whittle down pikes. Obviously, long-range skirmishers can do the same. But again, that's actually kind of what you have to beware of the successor states in the Blade Balance mod, is just making sure that you appreciate the pikes in the late game. They are not insurmountable, but they are certainly a lot more deadly, especially depending on the rules. Now, these Thracian warriors got a nice rear charge, and they're going to kill off a bunch of these Thorax pikes. But again, you can see the pikes are able to turn around and reform, albeit only one rank deep. You kind of have to try and ping-pong units back and forth on them, which is kind of what the Thracians doing here. So now going to try and get in behind the pikes this direction, and then also getting on their flank. But a unit like Thorax pikes has a little bit more survivability and morale. They're not going to be great on the attack, and at this point you can see flaming arrows flying in. Blade Master's trying to take advantage of the low morale on some of the Thracian units, and it's succeeding. And he's just bringing in more pikes to try and complete an envelopment. You can see the Thorax pikes morale holds long enough that it really helped out, but they still end up getting killed, though more Thorax pikes are right behind. And the Hellenic Royal Guard General has cleaned up a ton of kills. It's up to 221 kills at this point. Watch them killing some of these spearmen. They have pretty high attack numbers. The damage on all pikes is pretty low, but I think they get lots of attacks in just based on how many weapons are presented to the enemy from the front. So that's how they do their damage, is just getting lots of attacks, even though it's lower damage. So you can see there that they easily push back the Thracian spearmen. At this point, the battle's looking to be in favor of Blade Master, though there's still some annoying units left. You got these Thracian cavalry back here trying to pick at these skirmishers and destroy them. They're being chased by a Thorax pike unit. The pike unit can't chase in phalanx, but it's still dangerous because the Thracian Royal Cavalry has been depleted in numbers. Not a Thracian Royal Cav, sorry, the Thracian Cav. And this cavalry unit, again, is very good versus, that's the flexibility that the Thracians have. This cavalry unit is extremely good versus skirmishers, if it can get into melee combat with them, unless they're like a heavily armored peltist or something. These units are quite good at cleaning up enemy skirmishers. So yeah, at this point, Blademaster's pretty much got this thing sealed up. He's got Rhodian slingers back here. Nubian bows might be out of ammo, but the rest of his troops will be in good shape. And again, the only answer to the skirmishers is these Thracian cavalry. And a nice job by the Thracian player. Look at them just threading the needle here and continually harassing these skirmishers. So very nice work getting to the Rhodian slingers here, because that unit would be extraordinarily deadly in the late game. So very nicely done. So yeah, right here, really good damage going on. Gonna just watch the Thracian cavalry clean stuff up, but the Thracian morale is starting to waver just due to army losses. You can see it's... Okay, the Thracian morale is starting to waver a little bit. And you can see over here that the last charge of the Thracians is inbound. We'll watch that up close. Wanted to get you a battle with a lot of close-ups today. Hopefully y'all get to see some sweet footage here on Rome 2. Let's watch these Thracian warriors charging from the distance. They're going to go ahead and call it off. They've had enough today. And then the only unit that's left is this Thracian noble out here in the distance. So let's go watch this last and final fight. They go into headhunt, trying to keep their morale from breaking, and they're trying to get around the side of the pikes. You can see Blademaster reforming the pikes. At this point, there's probably not much of a chance, and they rout as well, despite the effects of headhunt. So it was a nice fight. Quite a few kills on both sides. A Thracian Russian army, to me, is a bit risky against the Egyptian army. Obviously, it's not impossible, because you saw that the Thracian player was getting to the skirmishers very well for a long time. But again, if there's enough of these pikes alive in the late game, that creates the problem. Would be interesting to see if you could come up with a build maybe more similar to this, but had a lot of Thracian skirmishers to replace these spears, since the Egyptian cavalry would already struggle with the Thracian cavalry and the royal cav. That might be interesting to trade the spears and see if you can get some cheap slingers, and maybe trade one of the Thracian nobles. Well, I don't know. You'd have to work on it. We'd have to see what the balance could be here. But it was an interesting battle, interesting matchup. Hope you all enjoyed this one. I'll be back with more battles soon. HeirofCarthage signing out for now.